Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. It's been more than 3 years since the India-China standoff began at the line of actual control. And while the negotiations with China continue militarily and diplomatically, the domestic politics over it also refuses to die down. On the sidelines of the BRICS summit in South Africa, Prime Minister Narendra Modi had an informal meet with Chinese President Xi Jinping. Both leaders discussed the ongoing tension in bilateral ties and agreed to maintain peace and tranquility at the border. This is the second informal meeting post the Galwan clash. Last year in November, both leaders shared a moment on the sidelines of the G20 summit in Bali as well and discussed the border dispute. But from the statements of the two nations post this meeting now, it remains clear there's a lot of ground to cover to be on the same page. Meanwhile, addressing a public rally in Ladakh's Kargil on the last day of his extended visit to the Union Territory, Congress MP Rahul Gandhi claimed that the Prime Minister continues to lie about the situation at the Sino-India border. The opposition leaders even demanded a special parliament session on the India-China border issue. The BJP took no time to ask Congress about its ties with China or the Congress party's ties with the China CCP. The Aam Aadmi Party went on to suggest that China is not only not responding to India's advances in a bid to attack the Modi government, even as India tries to pin down the dragon, it also wants further demands to be placed on the table for China. So the big question we're asking today is this domestic politics and bickering over a sensitive issue like the border issue with China, an adversarial nation, loose comments, hurting Indian interests at the end of the day? We'll take that question to our guest joining us in just a bit. But first, let's understand what this controversy is all about. As I mentioned, two leaders, India and China leaders, Prime Minister Modi and Chinese President Xi Jinping, they had an informal meeting on the sidelines of the BRICS summit in Johannesburg. A few hours later, both countries issued a statement about the meeting where the border tussle at the LAC was discussed. But the Chinese statement said that it was India that had requested this meeting with Xi Jinping on August 23, while the Indian government source said that there was actually a pending request from the Chinese side. Not surprisingly, there is always some one-upmanship when dealing with diplomatic ties or the language that diplomats use as far as their releases and statements are concerned, especially when you're dealing with an adversarial country. But let's take a deeper look as far as the statements released by both countries is concerned and why there is, of course, a divide that is coming to light. So China's statement said that there were candid talks and in-depth exchange that was held between the two countries. India said that the Prime Minister raised India's concerns about the border issue. The Chinese statements also said that they are for improving relationships which serves a common interest for both countries. India said that the Prime Minister raised the unresolved issues along the line of actual control. Chinese statement says that both countries should handle the border issue properly. India says we are observing and respecting the LAC is essential. So that again was a message that was given to the counterpart in China. China also said that they will jointly safeguard peace and tranquility in border region. India warned that no normal ties between the two countries until the border situation is resolved is possible. This is a line that External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar has also been publicly saying. Now, there was no mention of a de-escalation at the LAC that was mentioned, at least as far as the Chinese statement is concerned, while the Indian statement said that officials have been directed to intensify efforts for this de-escalation at the LAC, which has been, of course, the big bone of contention between the two countries. So, as I said, these are the statements that have created, of course, which is natural in the diplomatic world, a bit of a divide on where both countries stand. And this is not new, certainly not new for New India and China in the last 3 years. But this is what the opposition chose to react as. As I said, while slightly unrelated to the meeting in Johannesburg, Rahul Gandhi has been maintaining this attack on the current government for quite some time. He said, he once again in fact claimed that the Prime Minister is lying as far as the China situation is concerned, that China has grabbed our land. I have seen Chinese forces on Indian side, and it is sad that the Prime Minister is continuing to deny it. The AIMIM chief, Asaduddin Owaisi, also lashed out at the government, and he claims that there's been a capitulation by the Modi government in front of China, which is shameful and disgraceful. and dangerous actually. Saurabh Bhardwaj, the health minister in Delhi's Aam Aadmi Party government, also claimed that we are running after Xi Jinping or China for talks, but they aren't responding. This is of course picking up from the Chinese statement. He also stated that India should make it clear, should warn China that either they should hold talks or there will be no red carpet for Xi Jinping in the upcoming G20 meet. Well, a lot of advice that is coming in from opposition leaders, but the big question we're asking is this. All of this domestic politics, is it really necessary? All of these comments about what is happening, not happening, what should happen, what should be done, is it really necessary and is it hurting Indian interests versus a country like China?
लद्दाख एक स्ट्रेटेजिक जगह है, ये सरासर झूठ है। लद्दाख का हर व्यक्ति इस बात को जानता है कि लद्दाख की जमीन चाइना ने हिंदुस्तान से ली है और प्रधानमंत्री जी सच नहीं बोल रहे।
हम चीनी राष्ट्रपति के पीछे पीछे भाग रहे हैं कि हमें बात कर लो, हमसे बात कर लो, मामला सुलझा लो, और वे सुलझा नहीं रहे हैं। तो नुकसान हमारा है, क्योंकि इस वक्त चीन हमारी ज़मीन पे बैठा हुआ है। चीन से दो टूक बात करनी चाहिए, वरना G20 के अंदर चीन के आगे रेड कारपेट हमें नहीं बिछाना चाहिए।
आखिर क्यों प्रधानमंत्री चाइनीज प्रेसिडेंट के पीछे भाग रहे हैं बातचीत के लिए? आखिर क्यों देश के प्रधानमंत्री देश को अंधेरे में रख रहे हैं कि लद्दाख बॉर्डर पर क्या हो रहा है? नरेंद्र मोदी की सरकार हमारी बहादुर फौज पर ये प्रेशर डाल रही है कि कोई सोल्यूशन को एक्सेप्ट कर लिया जाए।
राहुल गांधी जी को बार बार चीन की बातों पर इतना प्यार क्यों उमड़ आता है? ये राजीव गांधी फाउंडेशन को मिले हुए दान का एहसान है या चीन की कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी के साथ हुए करार का इकरार है कि बार बार वो भारत सरकार से तकरार करने को तैयार है?
Let's go across to the guests who are joining us. Syed Zafar Islam is from the BJP. Charan Singh Sapra is from the Congress Party. Reena Gupta of the Aam Aadmi Party is also with us. And with us is also Lieutenant General KJ Singh, defense expert, of course, retired professional. Thanks a lot to all of you for your time. Reena, let me begin with you. I'm not quite sure why is it that the Aam Aadmi Party, for example, Saurabh Bhardwaj, would give more credence to what the Chinese side is claiming versus what we are saying. Shouldn't Indian politicians pay more heed to the statement and the cues that are coming in from the Indian statement than by going by what China may try to imply?
Shivani, one thing is clear, that the Modi government's policy on China has been a colossal failure. First, the Prime Minister tried to give chai to the Chinese premier in Sabarmati River, on the banks of Sabarmati River. Then Mamallapuram, all of that, nothing has worked with China. What has happened is that China is becoming more and more aggressive. They are occupying 500 square kilometers of our territory in Modi government's Raj, and our soldiers are going on being killed. At the same time, our trade deficit with China is $100 billion at a record high. So Modi government needs to figure out its China policy. Otherwise, China will continue to bully us. China will continue to occupy our territory. And with this trade deficit, we are almost becoming like a new colony of China, $100 billion in trade deficit. Why can't we manufacture these things on our own? In this day and age, economics is the best way to attack any country.
Fair enough. I take your point. And of course, that economic linking with China is something all global countries are looking forward to. This is a big issue for US, for example, currently, and many other countries, and all governments are working towards it, even if they may not say so openly, because this is a diplomatically sensitive issue as well. I take your points, and I think all of the criticisms, the questions by the opposition should be responded to. But My fundamental question to you was, why should somebody, a minister in the Delhi government, make a comment about how India should handle China diplomatically and that China is not responding to us when militarily and diplomatically we are working to de-escalate and work on a solution? Is this the right way or the right time?
Because, Shivani, there is never a right time with this government. When have they been honest about China to the country or to the parliament or to the opposition leaders? Why don't they, if they have failed on their own very clearly, their own external affairs minister is saying that what do you expect me to do? China is a bigger economy. So clearly they have no clues. Maybe they should take the opposition leaders into confidence and take some of our ideas, because their ideas clearly have not worked.
What should we do? We certainly cannot cut off our ties with China.
Shivani, the problem with this government is that they think that अपनी आंखों पे पट्टी बांध लेंगे और China चला जाएगा. That is not happening.
All right. Let me take that to Syed Zafar Islam. Let me take that to Syed Zafar Islam. Then I'll give the Congress representative an opportunity as well.
More and more of our territory.
Okay. Syed Zafar Islam, the constant criticism against the government is that as far as this issue is concerned, and whether China is in India or the land that India believes is ours, if we talk about status quo ante, what does that really mean? What is the status today? The government has been sketchy, to say the least, as far as those details are concerned. These are genuine questions, even if sensitive to a large extent, but in whatever way possible, the government should give clarity on this issue.
Shivani, I have 3 questions, and please allow me to respond each one of them. First of all, the question which you have posed, let me respond to that first. As far as China is concerned, they have not occupied an inch of our territory. There is something which has been stated by the defense minister as well as the external affairs minister on the floor of the parliament. So anything if somebody says that they have occupied our territory is absolutely incorrect, and they are just misleading the nation. Yes, there is a tension at the light of actual control, but LAC, and that is what we are trying to de-escalate, because we have built massive physical infrastructure which was missing during UPA time, and that is what the initiative we have taken. And China definitely is upset that we are building massive infrastructure there, and we have spent money to make our country safe and secure from the Chinese army and from any at the border level. Second thing, so it is all misleading. Whatever Rahul Gandhi is spreading is misleading. Second thing, what Reena ji said just now, that about the trade deficit.
Yes.
I think you should understand that every other country, China had become so big in manufacturing space that 70% of the global manufacturing was happening in China. So every product was being outsourced from China, or China was exporting to different parts of the world. Every country was struggling. Just again, I didn't interrupt anyone. So the Honorable Prime Minister has taken initiative of Atmanirbhar, self-reliant India, and it doesn't happen just as a magic wand, but you just
what about the issue of the defense? What about the issue?
It will happen.
Yes, but Zafar Islam, what about the issue of the policy towards China? I think Reena Gupta's main attack was that the government doesn't seem to know how to bring China into control. Go ahead.
Let me just complete, Shivani. I know what question she has posed. We exactly know how to deal with the China. We have taken action against them. And once we become self-reliant, once we have made a policy.
And when will that be?
No,
Reena ji, not like this. Reena ji, not like this. I will not allow you to interrupt and hassle other guests like this. Not like this, please.
I didn't interrupt you.
No, not like this, please.
Keep your mouth shut. I didn't
okay,
interrupt
let's calm down. Let's not lose our temper.
Let's
just Zafar Islam and me, please. Zafar Islam.
There's a language because you deserve that language.
Let's not lose our cool, but let's please allow everybody uninterrupted time. Yes, go ahead. I'll give you 30 seconds more. Zafar Islam, finish your point.
No, allow me to complete. Shivani ji, all I'm saying that our policy is absolutely clear. We have to, the trade deficit, we have to ensure that it should be in our favor. We are becoming self-reliant by making India as a manufacturing hub. We have taken many policy decisions and also engaging 571 global companies to bring set up shops in India and start manufacturing here and stored from out of India. We have been successful like Quid Car, for instance, or G Medical. They have lock, stock, barrel. They have shifted from China and set up shops here, and they are exporting from here. It is a template. We will replicate. Third thing. What
But you want to hear from the government? No, let me give him the opportunity to respond. Please don't interrupt over each other. But Mr. Zafar Islam, you must conclude now. 30 seconds, please.
30 seconds. Conclude 30. Our minister has spoken. Despite sitting on constitutional position as a minister in Delhi government, he is making a mockery of his own position and making the statement against the Honorable Prime Minister. It is really in very bad taste. People should drag him and thrash him because it doesn't deserve to sit in.
Okay, I don't know we need to go to that extent. Zafar Islam,
he cannot make a.
Let's not go to that extent.
He cannot make this kind of a statement at all.
No, you can question the statement and where it is coming from, but let's not talk about anybody getting thrashed or anything.
How can you?
Charan Singh Sabra,
you have no business to comment on.
Yeah, fair enough. You can say that. I'm just objecting to that one statement about people thrashing him. Let's not go down that road, please. I object to that statement. Charan Singh Sabra, I want to come to you. The government maintains, we have said it clearly again and again, the defense minister has said it and others have said it, there is no land grab by China. There are tension points, there are sticking points, and the fact that for the first time India is staring right down in the eyes of the dragon is a huge departure from how Congress in the past has dealt with China. These are also legacy issues. What position does Congress have to raise these issues against the government? This is what the BJP says. It reminds you not only of your tenure, but of the supposed MOU between the Congress party and the CCP.
See, Shivani, we have just seen the arrogance of the BJP spokesperson when he used the words as a thrashing on the street or whatever he said now. In a similar way, we have been seeing that the BJP leaders, right from the spokesperson to the Prime Minister, they have been blatantly lying to the nation. Now he is talking that nobody has come into our land, but it is their member parliament Tapir Geo who spoke in the house. In the parliament, he has given a statement in 2019 saying that around 50 to 60 kilometers the Chinese troops have come on Indian land. It was the BJP councillor Mr. Chaudhan from Ladakh who had said that Chinese people have come into our land, and 65 patrolling points, out of which 26 patrolling points our army is not able to go for patrolling. The buffer zone has been shifted from the actual point to the Indian side. So these are the points which the people in Ladakh, they know, and Shri Rahul Gandhi, when he's gone there, he has listened to the people's mind. Unke man ki baat unhone suni hai, apne man ki baat nahi kahi hai. If the local people over there in Ladakh are saying that we are not able to take our cattle for grazing at a particular place where we used to go earlier, then that is the fact. Prime Minister is also lying by saying ki koi ghusa nahi hai. These are wrong words. Their own member parliament Tapir Geo I quoted. I am quoting Subramaniam Swamy also. Why they are not attending? Why the dignitaries or the what you say, defense experts, they have also said there are pictures, satellite pictures which show that
yes,
there is
I'm aware of those satellite pictures, Mr. Sabra, and
should be tackled.
There is a little bit of disagreement also as far as what those pictures depict, and the situation has also changed from, let's say, May 2020 till now when we're talking about it. But Mr. Sabra, I just have one counter question to you. Mr. Rahul Gandhi, of course, as an opposition leader, is well within his rights to raise these questions. If I remember correctly, and you would remember, this discussion has happened in Parliament on the floor of the House as well. There were several Congress leaders that posted, I think, about 9 questions to the government on the issue of China. Some of them were answered, some of them were not answered due to the sensitivity of the issue. Why is it that you make this a rally point or an issue to be raised in rallies instead of, raising this either in Parliament or in forums that are available to the opposition to talk to the government too?
Shivani, let me remind you that Mr. Manish Tiwari in the recently concluded this no confidence motion, he has spoken elaborately on Chinese intrusion only. But Honorable Prime Minister, he did not respond to even one question what Mr. Manish Tiwari asked in the Parliament. So this is the hypocrisy or double speak of Bharatiya Janata Party and the Prime Minister. This hypocrisy should stop, double speak should stop, the water poetry should stop. And when they are talking about, when they are putting charges on the Congress Party, let me ask them few questions. Observers Research Foundation. This is a foundation attached to BJP and RSS, where Mr. Jai Shankar's son is a trustee over there. That organization has got 3.51 lakhs as a donation between year 2016 and 2018. Vivekanand Foundation is associated with RSS. They have got a donation of around 2.6 crores. Between 2019 and 2020, BJP leaders have been associated with Chinese party. And
I'll allow Mr. Zafar to respond, but one of our guests
given around 300 crores in PM Care Fund.
Rina ji, I'll come to you in the second round.
PM is soft.
Okay,
this is the reason,
one of our guests has not spoken. One of our guests has not spoken. Lieutenant General KJ Singh, I want to come to you for your expert opinion as well. How should a country diplomatically, militarily deal with an adversarial country like China? We know what China is up to. I don't think on that there is any disagreement. They have tried to change the status quo unilaterally. This time around, India has held its ground. I don't know, the government maintains that they've not lost any ground. Some experts have pointed out they have indeed lost ground. But politically speaking, does this help when there's internal bickering versus a country like China, which speaks in one voice? I'm not saying we should be like China, but for whatever reasons, from there is one message that comes. Shouldn't we as a country also send one message?
Shivani, that is an ideal thing. And Jai Hind to all your viewers. See, we have to understand China's game. In 1988, China clearly said, let's keep this issue on the back burner. Let's future generations deal with it. And thereafter, suo moto took up a line of 1959 and pushed it forward. And as late as 2018, the Chinese president told Mattis, US Defense Secretary, that we are not going to give away even an inch. Now, in that format, we should deal with China. We are currently involved in a process of disengagement. Disengagement has taken place at Pangong So on Fingers area. It has taken place in Galwan, Hot Spring, Gogra, that is your patrolling point 14, 15, 16, 16 Alpha. We are locked up in Depsang and Demchok.
Yes.
Now, Depsang and Demchok, we have to resolve. And there is some amount of traction. Now what China has done is, I find it very, very amusing, very immature on part of China. Why should they have come out with a statement like this, that this meeting was at insistence of India?
Of India, yeah.
Both sides want to talk.
Absolutely.
What
so
is
obviously
so
the Chinese design is always to poke India, to provoke India, to try and gain an upper hand. My question is exactly this. We should read through this. At least internally, we should not bicker on that.
To create a fault line.
Exactly.
To create a fault line within us. See, now, for China to say this, and China is in some sort of a chaos. Don't discount the fact that in economic forum, Xi Jinping didn't even go. He sent his own commerce minister. There is some churning taking place in China. We should take advantage of that, and we should also not expect that suddenly there will be a solution to this problem. No, this is only a disengagement. After this, there will be higher level of talks at political level, and all this while talks are going on. 19 rounds of talks took place between corps commanders. Thereafter, there were talks at the level of division commander. So talks must happen between two nuclear-powered nations which are sitting eyeball to eyeball. And the only known protocol which was fashioned between 2008 and 13 has been destroyed by China.
Right.
So we have to talk.
Yes,
what
and
is
I
so
don't
wrong in
think
it?
that there are
I
any
can't
easy
understand.
solutions or any quick solutions that you snap your fingers and you can deal with a power like China. These are world realities. So I have limited time. I'll go across our political panel and give everyone 30 to 45 seconds. Reena Gupta, first to you.
Shivani, first of all, I take strong objection to Zafar Islam's statements. I wish that his government would show some aggression towards Chinese rather than his political opponents, and he's behaving like a sadak chap gunda, which is what is the DNA of his party. All his leaders behave like that.
Okay, let's move on from that, please. I objected to that. Let's move on from that.
Dealing with
No,
you,
but we cannot allow these
one
kind of
has to believe,
statements on
one has
TV
to deal
programs.
with. One has to
Absolutely
deal
not.
with you like this only. A person who is अरे चुपचाप रहो, शांत रहो तुम। इस तरह के कमेंट को, इस तरह के शर्म आना चाहिए तुमको, इस तरह के कमेंट कर रहे हो। अरे शर्म आना चाहिए तुम जैसे लोगों को, इस तरह के कमेंट मार रहे हो, इस तरह के कमेंट देश के साथ गद्दारी करने के अलावा कुछ और सीखा है क्या? देश के साथ गद्दारी, प्रधानमंत्री के बारे में ऐसी बातें कर रहे हो तुम, तुम्हें शर्म आना चाहिए। You should be ashamed. You should criticize your own minister. You didn't criticize, that's why you criticize. You didn't criticize. You should have taken objection to his statement.
All right, I'm just intervening now, please.
You should have taken objection to your minister's statement.
Zafar Islam and Reena Gupta. Reena Gupta, please, I want to give you 30 seconds. Please make your point on the subject. Let's not go down this.
बदतमीज औरत है।
Please, let's not do this, Zafar Islam. Please, only Reena and I. Only Reena and I. Please, I request all of you, please maintain your calm, maintain your cool. You are on a national television debate. Please control yourself. Reena Gupta.
Shivani, as I was saying, it is very clear China is a bully. And
Yes.
if you behave like a coward in front of a bully, the bully is going to bully you even further.
But India hasn't been a coward, Reena Gupta. Let's be
India
fair.
has been a coward.
Let's be fair to our Indian army.
Now what we've said, Shivani, can I complete?
Yes,
you
okay,
never
go
let
ahead.
me complete. Zafar Islam does a pravachan monologue and you barely let me speak for 10 seconds. See, it is very clear that we keep thinking by closing our eyes, we'll be able to deal with China. That has not worked. We have to make sure that we slowly increase our manufacturing capacity so that our trade deficit with China goes down. Right
That's
now,
happening.
30% of India's trade deficit is with China. 30%, that's huge.
But
during COVID times, even to manufacture Crocin tablets, we are dependent on China. And if we don't manufacture things on our own, all this make in India, blah, 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 is all been a failure.
All right.
So the
You've made that point before. I take your point. I have limited time. I have to go to Mr. Sapra as well. Mr. Sapra, 30 seconds to you as well.
See, Shivani, what I want to say that BJP should stop fooling the nation. They should stop soft peddling towards China. They should understand कि चीन हमारा मैप बदल रहा है और हम उनके ऐप बैन करके खुश हो रहे हैं. Why BJP is doing soft peddling? Because Narendra Modi has taken 43,000 crores project in Gujarat. Why they are soft peddling? Because they have given Dawn Fab, a company, they have given smart meter contracts in Jammu and Kashmir, a border state. That is a Chinese company. Why they are soft? Because they have given contract to UC Web company, which was a banned company. So these are the things where Indian government is doing a soft peddling. They should stop soft peddling. They should stop whatever trade deficit between China and India.
The soft peddling against China, against what the government says. Zafar Islam, I'll give you 30-40 seconds so that you can respond to both, but please do it in limited time. If you wanted to bring about the concept, if you wanted to convince the opposition of the country that there's been no land ceded to China, maybe you have failed in that. Maybe the government needs to do more on that.
Not at all, Shivani. See, on the floor of the parliament, the entire member of parliament from all political parties were there, and a statement was read by none other than the Raksha Mantri and the External Affairs Minister. Every single details have been provided, which is sensitive even, had been shared with the member of the parliament, and they are fully aware of the status. And secondly, as far as the Reena ji was talking about the trade deficit, as I said, she was also speaking about the manufacturing, increase the manufacturing out of India. So we are creating a manufacturing hub. All the policy decision of the government to make India self-reliant is driving towards the making India.
Well, that's a long road. I don't think criticism on that, why can't we lower our trade deficit?
No, surely. That's also is happening. It is getting better from the earlier days. Secondly, last thing, I wouldn't have made that statement had Reena Gupta had taken objection against her own minister that how dare you can make this kind of a statement against the Prime Minister when he is visiting.
Well, she's obviously not going to do that. She's from that party. She's not going to do that, right? Okay, let's not get into that again.
They can demoralize. They can demoralize our army, but they will not make objection to their own statement.
Okay, I leave it at that. I have to cut across from this. I do thank all of our guests for joining us. It is a sensitive